today at the St. Johns County Chamber of Commerce to discuss the new business assistance program created by the Board of County Commissioners named St. Johns County Cares. I'm Isabel Renaud, President and CEO of the St. Johns County Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined today by Joy Andrews, Deputy County Administrator for St. Johns County. Joy, thank you for joining us today. So glad
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're glad to have you share with us some information about St. John's Cares. So I know that St. John's County Cares is a new program created by the county commissioners to help not only the small businesses, but also residents and not-for-profit respond to and recover from the impact of COVID-19. Today, I would like to focus a little bit specifically on and discuss the business assistant program. And I have to give you kudos for your effort in St. Johns County. You've been very proactive in helping our businesses during the pandemic. You've started with the Back to Business grant. I think it was back in May, if I remember properly. Okay.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, to help our small businesses, you have distributed the personal protection equipment, mask, hand sanitizer kit for free to our small businesses, and that was really helpful to them. So first, I want to say thank you for doing all this.
Thank you. And Isabel, I wanted to extend my gratitude to you as well, that we couldn't have done any of that without you and the chamber's support, especially you kind of led the chamber and advocated for your constituents. I appreciate all the help that you provided to us.
Well, thank you. We want to be of support. I want to make sure that we are here to provide all the help necessary for our business community to strive, especially in the case of challenges that we're facing. So thank you. So this St. Johns County Cares program, how different is it from the other one, and what does it entail?
It is actually very similar. So in fact, we even call a same name. So in May, when St. Johns County and our economic development and county administration team decided that it's time that we need to really react and respond to COVID-19, there was very little resource out there. So our economic recovery task force, which really comprised you, the chamber, St. Johns County County Administration, economic development, small business owners, and we also had the VCB, tourism industry representatives, and different areas that I can't even think of right now, but we have a really strong, powerful task force came together, and basically we came to consensus that it's time that we need to get help to our small businesses' hands and as quickly as possible to help them to, at this time, survive. And later on, when we do have a resource, look at a long-term recovery. So at the time, we were more focused on the survival of the small businesses and make sure that they can keep their employees or still employed, or at least to keep them on standby, keep their lights on, and make sure that the lease are still paid for the time being, without knowing how long COVID was going to last, without knowing when the next big resource is going to become available. And we at the time heard that the federal employee loan program was very iffy. It was difficult to go through, and the timing of it is very challenging. So at the time, we implemented the two programs. One was the Small Business Emergency Assistance Grant, which really was kudos to our Industry Development Authority. They granted the county $250,000, and we used that component to deploy emergency grants to small businesses, and the criteria were very simple, very easy to go through. We deployed $170,000 within a matter of a few weeks, so that there were 57 businesses who were able to keep their lights on, keep their employees on board still, and survived for the time being. Of course, the funding wasn't going to last for very long because that was just very limited. So at the same time, our Health and Human Services in conjunction with task force and us and county administration, plead to HUD Housing Urban Department, is that the name, the HUD, with the federal, to repurpose our community development block entitlement grant. And we at the time had the grants for the 2019 and 20. And we were the first county in the whole state of Florida made that plea to repurpose the CDBG grant to be able to use that for strictly COVID-19 response. So that was our original Back to Business program. We put that together. It was $1.3 million at the time, and we were able to add more to beef up the program just because the needs, unmet needs were so great out there. 5,000 was the max grant, and basically at the time, we had to exclude the sole proprietary business, and we had to exclude home-based business, and we had to use the funding that was allowed for by HUD, which really primarily was focused on low to moderate income. So we kind of used that and twisted our intent a little bit by saying that we're using these funds to help small businesses to maintain, retain their low to moderate income employees. So that was more of a job retention program that we put together. But the gist of it was very similar to what we have today as CARES Act Back to Business program, which the allowable use is for rent, mortgage, utility, connectivity, transportation, PPE, and the building hardening and stuff like that. So really the difference of the two, one was that we expanded the eligibility as far as the number of employees and the income of the employees. So we have a 4-tier. The current CARES Act program, we allocated $10 million. So let me just get back to the whole St. John's CARES grant program have 3 components. One, the biggest one is what we're talking about today is the small business program. And that was allocated for $10 million. And then we also have the individual assistance program. And then we are working on a nonprofit grant program. So altogether, in total, we allocated $18 million at this time.
That's a big difference.
It is a big difference.
Yeah.
The amount is hugely different. The criteria has been broadened so that more businesses who have been negatively impacted by COVID-19, our criteria pretty much is that if you are suffering 25% or more revenue loss, then you will be qualified. And the more employees you have, the more max amount of grant you will be qualified for. So very quickly, 0 to 9 employees, so which includes a sole proprietor.
That's very important.
Yeah, so anybody has, self-employed just by themselves, or the employee 0 to 9, you can get 5,000.
And home-based too, right, Joy? Home-based businesses with that.
That is right, home-based. So really, any business that you're self-certifying your COVID-19 negative impact and self-certifying the eligible use of the funds, potentially you'll be qualified. And 10 to 30 employees that you can get 10,000, and 31 to 50 employees you can get 15,000. And the highest amount that we give out is 20,000, which is for the employee who hires 51 to 100 employees. Now, anybody who has more than 100 employees, we haven't really gotten that many, and we really don't have that many in St. John's County.
Yeah.
And we kind of went through all of them and looked at how they're doing financially. We don't believe that there is unmet needs, but that doesn't mean that will not arise later on. So that's why, we allocated CARES Act, the entire CARES Act funding is $46 million. We at this time allocated close to 30 million. So we still have room for adjustment, amendment later on if we identify there are needs that are not being met with the current allocation. So the difference is really is the eligibility, the amount that we're able to deploy, and how quickly they can be deployed.
And you want to remind everybody that this is a grant. It does not have to be repaid, but you still need to keep some of the receipts to show that you've spent it on specific.
That is correct.
Right? Okay.
That is correct, because it is a U.S. Treasury grant, and the grant itself has very few number of criteria, which really is you have to make sure that it is directly related to the COVID-19 response. Number two is that you cannot use for expense that was budgeted prior to March 17. And then third is that you have to spend it before December 30th of 2020. So those are the only three criteria that we're given by law. But there is a compliance period that the county will be subject to. So we will ask our grantees to sign a grant agreement. In such agreement that they will agree to maintain record that is pertinent to the compliance and the audit of this grant, and so that during the compliance period that we can go back, and if the non-compliance was found, then there is a clawback provision.
Yep. That makes sense, and I think that requirement was there earlier in the other grant proposal
you're right.
offered you had. So I think so it brings me to the next question, which is some of our businesses have taken advantage of the early grants that you had distributed back in May, the Back to Business. So the maximum amount they can receive altogether is $20,000. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
So that is the amount that we recognize the needs are in some instances are not met by 5,000. We also do have the requirement of duplication of benefits, which means you can't double dip. You cannot use the same two different kind of grants to pay for the exact same thing. So that is pretty much generally a federal law, a federal rule that you cannot duplicate your benefit. And in this program, basically we say that we recognize you might receive other funding because we have different programs, but as long as your total amount of financial assistance do not exceed 20,000, then you're good.
And so I think you shared with me earlier that there is a deadline to apply for this grant. Is it?
That is right. September 4th. Remember, September 4th is the deadline.
We'll make sure we share that with our members in the business community so that they make sure that they apply before that deadline. So earlier we talked about, I mentioned the assistance for not-for-profit. Is there, I think that you have a plan to have that released fairly quickly. Is it at the end of August, beginning of September? Is that what
we are? In fact, yeah, the nonprofit program, as we're developing it, is going to be very similar to small business grant program, and then it's going to be broken down to 4 categories based on number of employees, but primarily is going to be go back to the timeline. Let me answer your question first. So I think within maybe a week or so that we will be able to launch that program, but let me just get into the program a little bit, because I know a lot of nonprofit organizations and advocates are very anxious to help their clients, because obviously the charitable donations have gone way down. So those organizations are suffering the injury caused by COVID-19. This nonprofit assistance program is designed to help with their operations so that they can sustain and continue to serve their clients. Yep. It's not designed for the nonprofit organizations to turn around to be the conduit to assist their clients. Not that they're not important, it's because that purpose is served by both small business and individual assistance. So we don't want to duplicate that benefit and then lose track of who we have helped with and how much help each individual has received.
Correct.
So that's why the nonprofit program was really designed to help nonprofit organizations to survive.
Yeah, and continue
operationally.
Yeah. That makes total sense. So most of our businesses here have employees, and what can you share with us regarding the individual assistance that our business owner can share with their staff so they can take advantage of that?
Well, the full information about the small individual assistance program is online. Okay. So just make sure you go online at St. Johns County Cares. It is really sjcfl.us, and then you go in there, you'll see St. Johns County Cares it's an isolated website. So there's going to be a lot of information on there. So I encourage
And we'll
everybody to
share that on the screen for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. That would be wonderful. But basically, the guideline is similar to small business. It's very simplified, and the income level that we're looking at is 140% of over moderate income. So,
Okay.
for instance, and this is a HUD. Uh, or SHIP. It's a SHIP guideline that use the HUD income level. So if you're a family of one person, then anybody who makes less than 73,500, then you'll be qualified. So incrementally goes on with the 2 people, 3 people. If you're family of 4, if your total income is 105,000 or below, then you can be qualified. And there's also the rule of 25% or above negative impact financially. Mm-hmm. And eligible use of the funds are very similar to the business: mortgage, rent, connectivity, transportation, and and hardening of your house, or something like that. That is COVID related. The individual assistance program is a little bit more scrutinized. Because we basically kind of borrowed the guideline from HUD, since it is a continuation of individual assistance program that we had in place using SHIP funding, which is primarily a housing assistance grant. So everybody can look at the guideline on the website, and there is a number that you can call. There is an email that you can email to. Our staff is very responsive. You will hear back from them if you don't get them right away within 24 hours. And they are very good. They are compassionate, which is first and foremost important thing I can say about our staff is they're extremely compassionate. They put themselves in your shoes, in the individual's shoes. They go out their way to find a way to help them. Mm-hmm. Even sometimes the resources are strapped. So I cannot be more proud of them.
That's fantastic. I love that you have covered all aspects: the small businesses, the employees, the not-for-profit in St. Johns County. So we appreciate all your efforts and mm-hmm. the efforts of your team and the staff of the county commissioners for what they've done. I want to thank you for joining us for this chamber conversation. For all our members and business owners and business members in the community, if you would like more information for St. John's Care Program, please call 904-209-6050 or email at stjohnscares@sjcfl.us. And for more information about the chamber, you can join us online at sjcchamber.com. I'm Isabel Renaud, President and CEO of the St. Johns County Chamber of Commerce. Thank you to Joy Andrews, Deputy County Administrator for St. Johns County, for joining us today. This concludes our chamber conversation about St. John's Cares. Stay safe and stay tuned.